Hi. Some say that experience is something that you get when you no longer need it. But I hope that my experience will help those of you who are starting or looking to buy a vise or a replacement vise. So briefly, right from the start, this is a Brockhaus Heuer vise. It's good. I bought it, I would buy it again, and I would recommend it. And the rest of this video will be explaining all the details so that you can make an informed decision based on your priorities and preferences, to give you all the details and everything after around a year and a half of use. To start, vise is the heart of a workshop, and regardless of the number of tools you have and your experience and skills, you will reach pretty quickly, surprisingly quickly, a point where you need something to hold things firmly in place while working on it. So one of the first things that I did when I bought this workshop was to look for a vise, and I was looking for something that will not be super expensive and that is available in my city right away. Got me this. I will show it close up and show how to disassemble it. This vise has some very good sides, and the main problems and downsides that I found with it were that you could not, I did not have enough opening space. I often had to improvise or work on the limits of it, and it was only a matter of time before I break it. And I often had to, not often, but I also had to look for borrowing and figuring out to get larger things and tools to get things done. So it was a bit too small, and it's a cast vise, so it's a bit heavy. I have a video, I have an article discussing the like a vise buying guide and explaining the peculiarities of this vise, but in that article I mentioned that the cast, the vices are not as uniform. Forged vices, and this one is forged, are better for keeping things and all the structure of the material if you do it properly with good design, good engineering, and good forging process and everything, and quality control, you can make the most of the material so that you can use less material, so saving some weight, making it lighter, which does make a difference in my case, but without sacrificing strength or even rigidity. So the manufacturer of this vise did just that with the way they designed this system to accommodate that and to create surfaces at an angle where things are aligned and put together for the slider to make sure that it stays rigid with no play whatsoever, and pretty good without being too heavy. So the difference, and if I mention any downsides, arguably you cannot, this section does not offer 100% protection from debris. So a small portion of this, when you open it all the way to the maximum and you measure where the thread that this goes into it's at the rear end of this vise, then a small portion of it right about here, when it's completely open, will get to the thread. So if you put any dirt and dust here, it will get inside, while this other model has a completely encased system so that no debris can get inside of it. So that's the advantage, but that's how do I say, academic, because in practice I'm yet to have any problems with this one, so it's all good. So you can see these bolts here. I forgot to mention that when I use a huge amount of torque, put the entire bicycle wheel here and use it to unscrew the whole wheel as a leverage to unscrew a freewheel, then there's an enormous amount of torque, and this holds it in place, so that part is okay. I can easily tighten it in place and it stays, but the whole base, because it has only friction and preload from between it and the wood, tended to rotate, and so I put these screws, bolts here, and that keeps it, prevents it from rotating when I'm using a huge amount of torque. But for all other normal use, that normal people use, this is okay. And for bicycle workshops, so definitely expect, if you're using it on a base like this, to find some way to reinforce it when you're working with free wheels. That's something that mechanics do. So I think a peculiarity. So nothing in terms of, if you put it on a metal desk, maybe it will have enough friction and things too, but I don't want to squash and damage wood. So I prefer to not tighten it super tight and just use this. So that's my choice. It comes with this swivel, so that you can move it and make it turn easily however it suits you when you're working, and get it how you like it, and also move it to different places. So I can put this outside or on some remote area and carry my vise, which is not too heavy. So this is a lot larger, but it's not heavier than this one. So super convenient for me. I'm not getting any younger or stronger, so that was also a thing to consider. And for bicycle mechanics and for general work in terms of size, this one is 120 millimeters. I don't know how much that is in the imperial units, maybe 5 inches, maybe something like that. I'm not sure. Don't take my word for it. You have to sit down and recalculate it. Anyway, so this one is 120 millimeters, and the opening is about 140 millimeters. So I will put all the stats in the video description to not get any information wrong or something. But let's see, when I measure it, 145 inside here. What I measure, 145 millimeters. If you are looking to buy a universal vise to cover most use cases, I would say that the size are one size larger, 140 millimeters, is the most universal. So it's not too big to be too heavy, too bulky, and too unsensitive, so that you easily squash things too hard when you're working on something that's, how do I say, fine. So that's the middle ground, but without being too small or too weak for the heavier stuff if you do a lot of welding, grinding and things like that. However, that model is a bit heavier than this one, almost double the weight, or some at least 50-60% more weight and more strength and everything, more opening also, everything is bigger, but it's not suitable to use with easily mounting and dismounting swivel section. This is sold separately, so I got this thing to easily move it around. But for the larger model, that's not realistic and you cannot get that. And also for my work with bicycles, the 120 with a bit lower price, a bit smaller size, a bit lower weight, everything was, and this option, everything was the way that I thought, okay, for my use case, which may be a bit peculiar, this is a better option. But generally, if I had to make a blanket recommendation, I would say go with the 140 millimeter sized version. And I would also recommend getting the replaceable jaws model. The ones with fixed jaws are, I managed to do funny things and mistakes and dents and everything, as you can see here already. So it's, for me, it's a bit better to have an option to easily replace jaws designed already. So you can get different styles or put attachments with magnets and replace this only if you damage them. I managed to get this pretty beat up, and these are also replaceable. So knowing that I will be getting a larger vise, I did not bother to make these machined or replaced or something to look for replacements. But this one you can buy replacements from the manufacturer. They have a neat thing here that lets you put a small screw with a ball bearing and some spring preload, so that this stays in place however you leave it, while you can still easily move it around. So sometimes that's practical because it lets you move this out of the way of what you are working. And another aspect is that this moves in this area away from the table, so that you can put longer stuff here. This one moves the rear side so that the longer stuff can hit the table where it's mounted on. So that's a downside in my opinion. it has some pros that it doesn't get further in the working area, but it has also downsides. This looks like something that your children and grandchildren may inherit. If they like doing that stuff, it's a design that's over 100 years old, if memory serves me. So tried, tested, and works well. And the few people that I know that have used these vices usually sing praises to them. But this is not something that you usually find in Serbia. I had to order this from Germany, and it's been a lot of hassle for me to get this. I paid for this and ordered it like any other customer. This is not a paid advertisement. In fact, I will, with clear conscience, say all the downsides and everything. So the first thing, it's not easy to find things in Serbia. You have to import it from Germany, and so that's for me a downside. For people who are in United States, I'm not sure. In Europe, for those in European Union, the prices are without those customs and everything. So the price is very good compared to alternatives with remotely decent quality. So I would say it's the best bang for the buck. It's not super expensive. It's not cheap, but it's not super expensive. This is about, I think, $200 device itself. But check the prices whenever you watch this to see those things change, and there's inflation and everything. But the price is, I think, good compared to other stuff, and durability looks to be very promising. One downside is the way that they've designed the thing to remove slack with the spring preload and the compression washer that clips into place here. It doesn't look like you can completely easily disassemble it, clean it, lubricate it, and reassemble it. In practice, I did not see dirt coming in there, and I suppose that I could use the trick that I use with the Shimano pedals to just create some room and squish inside the grease, pushing out the old grease, and call it a day. Once a year or so. I am still to try and lubricate this. It's been holding up pretty well and no problem so far. In a few years I will know and see how that fares, but that's one downside, that they don't offer cheap tools to keep that compression ring in place and to install it, and once you remove it, and spare those compression rings and things like that, because it looks like it's been designed to last for 100 years and in use and everything, and then you are likely to get into that situation. I will make a follow-up video when I first time need to clean this and re-lubricate it to see if my plan works well in practice. So, or if I ever need to. If for now there's been really no need to do anything. So that's I think I've mentioned everything important. I'll put relevant information and links in the video's description, and maybe create the article that I've already created on my website. Put some info also is there. I'll also link to that article in this video's description. And while I'm talking, I hope you have been able to see all the close-ups of the things that I was discussing and talking about to help you figure things out. And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I also want to thank all the good people who support my work via Patreon. And I must say, this is just a not very fun fact, that I was saving to buy an action camera to create tutorial videos from riding and things like that. But I came to a point when I realized, okay, this smaller vise is really no longer cutting. I must call it. And I used funds from Patreon supporters to buy this vise, and my reasoning was that this is more important for me to keep working, to be able to work, and videos will come later. And so it made a bit of a dent in those fundings and made buying the video camera action a bit later than I was expecting or hoping. But so in theory, technically speaking, I did not buy this with my own money, but it is true that I really was willing to buy this, and it's been on my short list when I looked all the offers and everything. And so if after this experience especially, I would go and buy it in case this got stolen or something similar. If it broke from use, of course, I would question the quality, but it's looking very, very promising so far. Knock on wood. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in some other video. I hope this helps you, and if you have any questions, comments or corrections, additions, please use the BikeGremlin.net forum. Of course, I don't open the comments section on my YouTube because my time is very limited, and I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to not moderate to allow rude comments from bots and all crazy people. So it's simplest to keep those comments locked, and I understand that it affects the number of views, the number of subscriptions, the visibility and whatnot, and that is the downside that I am willing to accept. I hope that my work gets to the right people by word of mouth and bookmarks and everything, and that's the best that I'm able and willing to give in terms of time and effort, and I hope it's good. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in some other video. Cheers.